Welcome to the 11 Warriors Show. Jason Priestess, Chris Lauterbach, coming to you this beautiful Thursday morning. It's May 16th, man. We're already halfway through May. We were off last week. We're trying to, do shows when we need shows and not necessarily just throw something up to throw it up. So maybe some, weeks off here and there in May and June and then early parts of July. But I'm sure we'll be busy once things start in earnest. That last weekend of July is Big Ten Media Days, and then you got fall camp, and then you got the season, and we'll be busy. But if you don't see us for a week here and there, that's the reason why. We're in the lab fine-tuning things. I'm happy, man. Last night for dinner, I cracked the Chipotle code, man. I went online, Chris, and I found like the marinating instructions for their chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And so, ancho chili powder. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Some other stuff. Threw it in a blender. Marinated chicken for about 24 hours. Cut them up and cooked them. And not quite the same, but it's pretty darn close, man. As much as it costs to eat out these days. I'm looking for any ideas on how to, if I could get a quarter pounder cheese code at home, I would recipe. I would cook some of that stuff. Just give me the McDonald's fries recipe. That's all I need, really, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. Speaking of McDonald's, I think some of these fast foods are finally starting to feel it, right? With just continuing to jack the prices up, and now it's starting to go in reverse on them. So I heard they were flirting with some sort of combo meal they were brewing up that would be more on the value side. But I say it all the time. I have two little kids. It's cheaper for me to go to Roosters and get served and have much better food than it is to go to Wendy's.
It's insane
with kids. And be waited on. You know what I mean? It's kind of a joke.
Yeah, it's nuts. The McDonald's thing's interesting. They're trying to launch a $5 value meal.
Yeah. And
they it was a fight between corporate and franchises because the franchisees did not want to do it. And I saw a chart the other day. It was how much food prices gone up at all these fast food restaurants. McDonald's led the pack at 100% over the last 6 years. They're up 100%.
Yeah.
Wendy's is 46. Most of them are reasonable. Here I am saying 46 reasonable. That's not even reasonable, but compared to McDonald's, reasonable. Mm-hmm. And the franchisees didn't want to do it. They love this money. And it's the corporate's hey, you want people to keep coming to your restaurants. We're going to have to figure something out. So Coca-Cola is subsidizing that $5 meal. They leaned into one of their partners, had their partner put some money for it. Yeah, it's insane. How can you not see the writing on the wall? You work hard, you own a couple McDonald's, I get it. You like the flow of money, but and I know things cost more and their raw materials cost more. And, but at the same time, man, if you get to a point where it's too expensive, you're not a viable business anymore.
Right. Well, especially, I don't know. Everybody's got their own preference, but McDonald's probably 10th on my depth chart of fast. I don't even eat that much fast food anymore. I used to all the time, but I can stomach their breakfast. That's about it. I love their fries, to your point, but there's not much else I'm really trying to get from there. I feel like there's better options in my little, 2-mile radius. I'm willing to go if I'm going to eat some food like that.
I got a preteen, and if it was up to him, he'd have McDonald's every night.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah. The Coke can't be beat. I'll give you that. Fries, if they're good. And sometimes it just depends on who runs the one near you, right? And what time of day you go. Cause McDonald's fries sound good when you're telling the story and they're piping hot, but how many times do you get them and the bag's 2/3 full and they're all just floppy, flaccid, no thanks.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. Most of the time they're good, but every now and then you get a bag of fries. You're man, these are crunchy. I know they've been sitting in that thing for 40 minutes. Thanks, McDonald's. But just family of 3, in your case, family of 4, it's $40 to go to McDonald's for you. $40 to go to Win. That's insane.
Yeah. I will tell you, I was in Vegas recently, and Popeyes they had a Popeyes in the Venetian. I stayed at the Venetian, and they had a Popeyes in there. And I had that every day for lunch because I didn't have many other options, and I'm spending money left and right on everything else. And it was just me and my brother. I'm I can eat cheap lunch. That's fine. Piping hot every single time. No line. This is how it should be, but that's just never how it is at most fast food places you go.
Popeyes is amazing. Their chicken sandwiches, their spicy chicken sandwich is so damn good. But Popeyes, it's always you never know what you're going to get when you walk into one. They might be out of something that they should have. We got any lids? You're how do you know how many lids? We're out of straws or, come on. But the food's delicious. Big news today on this Thursday. It's supposed to be, I believe, NCAA cover announcement day for the video game. And I don't play a ton of games these days. I know you don't, but you have a son, so you might be having some games in your near future, little head-to-head battles here, and some trash talk around the house. And someone leaked what supposedly is the cover, man. And you got Quinn Ewers Shedeur Sanders, and then Donovan Edwards from Michigan, the running back, who famously last season in August said he was going to revolutionize the position and then ran for 497 yards for the year. So good choice, EA. Great choice having him on. Will Johnson is the best player on the Michigan roster. He should have been on the cover, but we'll see if it's true. It was leaked and people are saying it's the cover, and we'll find out today. Speaking of Michigan, man, it's May, but I feel like we can always talk about Michigan. And we're in the middle of TV lineup season. ESPN just announced their Labor Day opening weekend slate. Pretty interesting lineup. You might only have one top 20 matchup in all of these games, but Thursday you got North Dakota State versus Colorado. And that's like upset watch. And the whole 80% of the country is going to be cheering for.
Lord. Yeah.
80% of the country is going to be cheering for North Dakota State.
Love to see Shedeur be on that cover and then lose the first game.
Wouldn't that be amazing to an FCS team?
Fantastic.
Yeah, not even a big school. Saturday, Clemson and Georgia in Atlanta. That's the top 20 matchup. My dude Dabo made some waves this week because he was, I guess, Clemson and the service academies were the only programs that didn't take any transfers. That makes perfect sense for the service academy. You're not going to roll there in May and be like, man, let me get to class. And
you said basically everybody to transfer because they come from high school. They're basically transferring from high school to Clemson.
Yeah. He's a winner in life. Saturday afternoon, Miami at Florida. So that'll be a fun one. The two Florida teams. Neither will be ranked probably in the preseason, but that's always a game that's pretty fun to watch. And then Saturday evening is Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Who would you root for in that one?
Notre Dame, Texas A&M?
Yeah.
I don't hate on Notre Dame until they start to get, kind of relevant. Like they're just kind of there right now with Freeman. So yeah, I guess I'd probably pull for Notre Dame more than I would Texas A&M, but I would watch that game, but I'm probably not cheering for either one unless I got a little coin on it.
Yeah. I tend to hate Notre Dame all the time, but I don't like the SEC more. So I'm gonna pull for Notre Dame in that one.
I get
the Northern school.
Is there some level with obviously Michigan's a different stratosphere, but to make the point, the hate's always there, even when they suck. Like even when they weren't good, it was still very easy to hate them. I'm more like apathetic toward Notre Dame when they're just kind of out there. Like they don't register enough on the Richter scale for me to pretend that I'm going to waste that much energy on hating them kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going out of my way to hate them, but for me, it's the fact that they haven't joined the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes too much. You're right in the middle of all the teams. You're right there.
Yeah.
Like you're just north of West Lafayette. I mean, come on, get in the program.
Marcus probably helps a little, a little bit for him.
Yeah. I want to cheer for him there. Sunday, you got USC versus LSU in Vegas. Big Ten SEC battle there, huh?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. Like you said, not a. I don't think it's both teams in the top 25 situation when it comes around, but definitely some name recognition there. And LSU's always got some horses. I mean, who do you root for in that one? I mean, Brian Kelly is
Big Ten, baby.
Antichrist.
Yeah, Big Ten.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like USC a lot, but I'll pull for them there. And then Monday, the Labor Day special on ESPN is Boston College at Florida State. That's the game, it's usually a good one each year. That's where Braxton Miller hit the spin move button at Virginia Tech. Bill O'Brien's first game as Boston College's head coach. Florida State will be a decent team this year. Norvell's a good coach. They got a game ahead of that. They're in Ireland the week prior. So it will be the second game for Florida State. That'll be, it's Labor Day. It's 8:00 at night. I'm sure I'll be watching it.
Yeah, be watching it for sure. Definitely a retooled Florida State team, right? Lost a lot. A lot of guys sat out the bowl and all that good stuff. It's probably a lot of roster turnover there. I'll watch it because it's the first weekend of college football and the programs. But I don't know if that's going to be certified banger status. It's more of, hey, it's Labor Day and college football's on. I'm watching the hell out of this,
Yeah, me too. And that first weekend's like just a heroin hit too. Like you're like, man, it's back. I'm going to watch as much as I possibly can. Let me clear my calendar and make sure the kids are taken care of as best I can because I'm watching about 20 hours of college football this weekend. And that's how it goes. NFL hasn't started by then yet. So that's why they're on Sunday and Monday. Fox announced Michigan at Ohio State this November is a noon game. I don't think that's a big surprise to anyone. It's been noon for a long time. What's the optimal time for the game for a kickoff in your eyes?
I like noon. I like noon. I think it's one of those games. I'm old. I don't like even big games. I'm not like, oh my God, I wake up, it's game's got to be here right now. But I do for Michigan. So waiting only until noon is a nice thing. I think with us doing coverage and whatever we're doing, like the sooner the game is over and there's still daylight, there's more time to do those things instead of staying up middle of the night and all that. And we're not even the beat guys, right? Like those guys are staying, they've got long days after games. So noon game is always good for that factor. But, when I was younger, 3:30, let me at least get a buzz first, something like that. But now, I'm stone cold sober watching games. So yeah, give it to me at noon where I don't have to wait, because it's the one where, unless it's a national championship game or something like that, it's definitely not going to be of equal anticipation. So let's get it going as early as possible. What about you?
On the list of things that are attached to that game, all the traditions and all the elements, kickoff time is probably near the bottom of things that I would like die on a hill for. Like if they change it, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Right. Saying that, I think 3:30 is the optimal time for that game. They did it for 06. You remember that?
Yeah.
And the game starts during
Finishes
the day,
in the dark,
and then you have lights on for the fourth quarter. And maybe it's because I have such fond memories of that 06 game. But for me, I wouldn't mind seeing it move to 3:30, and it's been noon forever. It hasn't always been noon.
Right.
There were 2 o'clock starts, 1:30 starts in the 70s. It's some people think it's been noon since the dawn of time, and that's not the case. It's been noon in the modern era a lot, but again, 3:30 start for the 06 game, and wouldn't mind seeing some more of that brought back. Possibility this year, finally, with divisions going away, that Ohio State and Michigan can play back-to-back weeks, because they're going to take the 2 highest-ranked teams, the best record for the Big Ten championship game. And these will be 2 of the 4 or 5 teams that are at the top of the 18-team Big Ten right now. Oregon's up there, Ohio State's up there, Penn State will be good. There's some other teams that'll be good. But there's a decent chance we're going to get a week later rematch. What are your thoughts?
Sweet. Awesome.
You in?
Hell yeah. Let's go. It doesn't dilute anything for me. It's more kerosene. It's a chance for revenge for one of the other. To me, it does it. Not only does it not dilute it, it adds to it. And I've seen some stuff like even if it was every year, I feel like I would be fine with it. But I know some people that are maybe against it are pointing to the last, I don't know how many years in a row it would have been, kind of thing. 3-4 years in a row or whatever they would have played. And hey, they could possibly play a third time and all that. One, I say bring it on. Two, I say I do think adding just the conference is getting bigger, and the programs they added have a chance to be, good at certain points. Like Oregon is stepping in, and they're really good right now. So just through the in count and the quality of some of the in count that was added, I don't think it makes it quite the lock it was when you look in the past to say, oh gosh, they would have played this many times, back to back in a row or whatever. It's a totally different ball game now. Yeah, Michigan's still gonna be a nice program and all that, Ohio State too, but yeah, if they played every year back to back, I think that's fine. But I don't think that's going to happen as often as people are saying. They may end up rematching again in the playoffs or something like that. But assuming back to back weeks rematch, what percentage of the time do you think that might happen in a future state? Quarter of the time?
Maybe.
I don't think it'll happen that often. So. But when it does, watch. I think one of the guys in Slack, and I agree with him, that'd be the most watched college football game ever, regular season, kind of game ever, right? Yeah, like non-playoff or whatever. If they rematched, that thing would be through the freaking roof.
Yeah. You get a week to come back. How nice would it have been to have another crack at him last year with a week after the game to come back and say, all right, you got us there. Let's do it again. You say 25%. That sounds about right. That relies on Penn State, Wisconsin, Oregon, Washington, USC, some of these teams stepping up and playing. But if we enter an era where Michigan and Ohio State are just loaded for the next 10 years, could be a lot, honestly.
Oh, it could be. It could be greater than that. But even it's 50%. Like I said, to me, I can see where people think differently. But my opinion is that they can't play enough.
What about the nickname?
The game?
Yeah. You're playing them twice a lot. Does that lose some? Did you have to call it something else? Because it's still the game at the end of November.
It's still these 2 programs. It's these 2, it's these 2 just historical, No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think some people just are reluctant to, they're just, Duke and North Carolina played 2 times a year all the time for forever. And I think that's, that hasn't diluted the quality of that rivalry. They can still play in the ACC tournament. I would argue that I don't think Duke and North Carolina fans think it's diluted. Like if people that really care about it to begin with, they don't care about it less. Hell, Yankees, Red Sox, they're playing, 12, 15, 18 times a year back before interleague and all that type of thing. And that helped make that rivalry what it is. So I don't advocate doing it 2 or 3 times every single year, but I definitely don't feel like it dilutes anything.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I think that sometimes, if for good reason, because a lot of people are intent on protecting the traditions of college football. And I get that. You have to, because it's tradition-rich sport, probably the most tradition-rich sport in the United States. But at the same time, man, you got a chance to line up 2 of those guys. I mean, Fox would love it. I'll tell you who would love it. Fox would love it.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be no problem at all to them. Gus wouldn't even sleep that week, man. He would just go straight from Columbus to Indianapolis and do it again and be a lot of fun. And in NFL, like Eagles and Cowboys play twice a year. Bears and Packers play twice a year. There's no one. Bengals and Browns play twice. There's no one saying, "Oh man, I wish it was just once."
Right.
So it's just something to watch for. It could come as soon as this season. They're going to be 2 of the top probably 6 or so ranked teams in the country to start the season. Have to see what shakes out there. Other Michigan bits. Gene Smith was on WOSU earlier. He was asked about the Connor Stallion stuff and Michigan's win streak, and he said he puts an asterisk on it. And, I like Gene right now because he's on his way out and he can kind of say a little bit more about what he wants. I mean, remember he almost got in a brawl on the sidelines in Michigan last year? Remember the footage of Gene about to slap a guy? He's saying, a little more loose with what he says, and then that's fun, obviously. But I think when he said that too, you had 100,000 Ohio State fans just nodding, like absolutely an asterisk. They cheated, at least 2 of those wins, and that's all there's to it. But Dan Wetzel, the Yahoo writer, who's a really good writer. He's I think anyone that works in college football, their goal should be to never have Dan Wetzel write a long column on you because it's probably bad and he's unearthed some stuff. But he was on the College Football Inquirer pod this week, and he said, quote, "There's no asterisk in this. Gene Smith knows that I have great admiration for him. He knows this. Calling for an asterisk on this is weak sauce. Just come back and beat them. It is weak sauce."
Look, I mean, if you're an Ohio State fan, you're going to think one thing. If you're not, you're going to think something else. I think I'm 50 and uncool, but I think saying weak sauce twice in a row is kind of uncool and lame myself. But I think an asterisk, to me, it's valid. I mean, they cheated, and I can't be convinced that it didn't have an impact. Did it necessarily mean win or loss? Maybe not, but I think it was enough that it gave them an edge. And I'm fine with an asterisk on it. That being said, there's vacated wins. None of that changes that, what it was still an L. Yeah. So, I don't know. I can't get too riled up about it either way, but I do think some sort of notation that these mofos were cheating like crazy, and that I do believe that had an impact is what I believe, but I can understand why others think differently. Yeah.
Every Ohio State fan alive is going to look at those games as, maybe unearned. The last one, this one last November, do you give them that one?
I do.
Asterisk free?
I do.
Yeah. I do too. Because Connor was long gone, and presumably Ohio State had special signs for that week that nobody else knew.
That team won 15 games. That Michigan team, we can not like it as much as we want. But it was a damn good team.
It was. It was a really good team. But I don't know. Yeah, Gene. Happy to hear Gene. Go to bat for Ohio State fans. Certainly, probably endeared himself to more fans on the way out the door. I think he's going to be remembered. I mean, he's got another month and a half, and he's done. And his legacy, man. I think this is a guy that when Tressel got fired, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it was Gene. Tressel took the bullet for Gene, and this and that." And then he got he just had a suspension for the Urban and Zach thing, and then I think he's leaving. Probably he's one of the most popular athletic directors in school history.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's it's a tough hat to wear. You got to make the decision, like the bowl ban stuff. Gene screwed that up, this, that, and the other. But when you're in a role like that for as long as he is, there's going to be some wins and there's going to be some L's. But I would feel like over his tenure, he's definitely stacked more wins than he has L's. Yeah,
consummate, nice guy, good dude, very good politically, very good at pleasing the interests of various stakeholders and constituents, very good in the space. Really excited to see what Ross does stepping in for him. But hopefully he can go a couple more interviews before he leaves and maybe drop some more bombs on him. Launch bombs on him, Gene. Just have it. Let him have it, man. Like, you don't like them. We don't like them. They don't like us. Just let it loose. What can possibly happen to him at this point? Last bit today. I saw something interesting recently. Someone was asking if Ohio State had the chance to make a run at the record for number of players drafted in a single NFL draft. And again, Georgia set that record in 2022 with 15 players selected in the draft. Ohio State has the second most with 14 in 2004. LSU also had 14 with Joe Burrow and those guys in 2020. And then Michigan again tied that with 14 this past draft. Again, Michigan's looks weird because they had one first-round pick, and most of these other teams had several first-round picks, so a lot of like value picks from that Michigan roster. But looking ahead, man, and kind of looking at the roster, and we've talked a ton about how many people are coming back, how loaded this Ohio State roster is. Kind of did a little bit of legwork, and we're going to run through some of these players. But the short answer is absolutely Ohio State can make a really good run at breaking Georgia's record. I think there are 10, maybe 11 surefire picks. And the 10 I had, Emeka Egbuka, definite draft pick. JTT, draft pick. Sawyer, draft pick. Denzel Burke, draft pick. Tyleik Williams, draft pick. Jordan Hancock, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Donovan Jackson, and Josh Simmons as the 10 that I think, are surefire picks. Now, some of those guys can choose to come back for another year, like a lot of those guys actually could. And with NIL being what it is, that's more attractive now than it was in years past. So part of this equation has to have Ohio State have enough guys declare for the draft to make this work. But if these guys all declare, I think there's 10. I think also Davison Igbinosun, a guy that could make a decision on coming back or leaving next April or next January, is another guy. If he wants to go, I think he's a draft pick. I think it's 11. And then that leaves us 8 wild cards that I have here. Josh Fryer, Lathan Ransom, Cody Simon, Ty Hamilton, Seth McLaughlin, Sonny Styles, CJ Hicks, and Will Howard. And of those, do you see any of those guys that are kind of wild cards that you're like, hey, man, you should have put them in the definite bucket?
Yeah, I think, you hit it with Igbinosun, right? Like, I think he's iffy for some folks, but I think if he wanted to come out, I think he would be drafted. His physicality, it's some of these, like Jordan Hancock, I think you've listed as a definite. And I think, would he be drafted? 1,000%. Would he, maybe to your point, be an NIL because maybe he wants to see if he can be wants to show he can play on the outside too or something. Maybe, right? Because there might be a little bit more money to make there. But after what Sanders still just did at Michigan as the nickel or the slot guy and was, awesome, right? A huge cog in that national title run. I think, Hancock could maybe look to also be that type of player and could come out this year. I also wonder too, like if Ohio State wins a national title, something like that, I think that's going to nudge, maybe more of these iffies to come out anyway, even if they could come back and improve their stuff. Ohio State wins a title, I would imagine Igbinosun's gone, right? Like Hancock's not coming back, that kind of thing, to your point. But yeah, out of those wild cards you listed to me, I think that I would say, I'd be no on Fryer, no on Ransom. Well, just the yeses, I would say. I think Will Howard will get drafted. I think he had like a third or fifth up, it was a mid round, late mid type, grade this year from some people. I think playing in this system, actually being developed as a quarterback a little bit more. And I say that myself as like, man, how good is he going to be? Whatever. But I think when the rubber hits the road, Day is such a great coach and there's so much talent around him. He's probably going to put some good film together. Plus he's got that size and things like that. So I would imagine that, and playing quarterback, just that in and of itself means a lot. So I would say that he's going to get drafted. And I would say out of that mix, maybe Ty Hamilton would be another guy I think that, would potentially have a shot. But yeah, I've got it maybe like 12 of these guys are for sure going to get drafted if they all came out, and then we'll see what happens with a handful of these others.
You don't think Sonny's one?
I don't know. I think I think the NBA is more likely to draft on just the specimen kind of thing, like and the potential and that kind of stuff. I think, and if he obviously has the body for it, but I think he's switching position. Like if you said right now, hey, if you think he's going to get drafted, what position is he playing? Like, what are they going to draft him to play?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you look at some of the guys at Ohio State that have been down the line. They moved into the linebacker in the NFL. They're kind of moving him the opposite direction, safety to LB. But like, I think that diversity is a strength, though. I think that, you know, obviously his physicality and his size and what he can do is going to be a big allure to guys. But you're right. They don't, you know, you got to have some stats and some tape.
I think he's going to be an NFL player. Just is it going to be next year? And if so, is it going to be as a drafted or an undrafted? Again, the measurables and whatnot are going to be great. Just there's so much unknown about what he's going to do this year, right? Like, is he going to platoon with Hicks? What is that ultimately going to look like? Almost like not same type of player, but think like Baron Browning, right? Like never really got as much run at Ohio State, like where you didn't really, use him in a specialist role because maybe his skill set, he was top heavy in a certain skill and maybe not quite as balanced in some other skills. But NFL, they're like, boom, we're only going to use you for that top skill and we're going to put you out there. So I do think Sonny is more versatile. So again, that's not an apples to apples, but just a situation where maybe could it be, to your point, that he could, shine more in the pros than he's had an opportunity to do here so far, because he's kind of been Swiss Army guy here instead of like specializing in anything.
I think if Sonny wants to leave, and he'll be able to be a junior, if he wants to leave, he's 100% a draft pick is where I'm at. I think that, Cody Simon might surprise some people. Like showed some flashes in the Missouri game.
I mean, Tommy got drafted, and Simon's going to run faster, and probably look faster laterally, and all those kinds of things. It's a possibility.
I think
I'm not saying 12 only. I'm saying like 12 locks. Like to me, Simon is not a lock. He needs to go out and have a really good season. Sonny does too.
I think Fryer's got a really good shot to get up into that draftee bucket.
Plays tackle, I'll give you that, but he's going to have to make a pretty big leap in my opinion to get drafted.
Well, something that also happens that's interesting too is if they do win it all, there's like a certain shine that envelops the team, and GM's kind of like, man, that must be a good team, and everyone over there, they probably give them everyone on the national championship teams a little more credit than they probably deserve, Yeah. We saw it when some of those guys, when Darren Lee was going in the first round, there's some stuff when they win it all, like they fall in love with those teams and the guys on those teams. They're going to be on TV. They're going to be watching them in big games. I think fair.
I think I would just say this. I think Fryer has the most tape to overcome than anybody on that, on that wild card list, probably.
That's fair.
Like he's got to make a Taylor Decker type, and Decker was like as a freshman or whatever it was, and then to the second year as a starter was, elite, and obviously he's great now. But I think Fryer's probably got more cringy tape to overcome than any of these other guys.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And maybe Hicks has a shot. Hamilton could have a shot too. I know they love Hamilton at the Woody, and his brother went on to play some in the NFL. Some pedigree. So, yeah, he's got some pedigree. We'll see. I think we have about 12 surefires. And then, about a half dozen guys that depending on what happens, how good the team plays, how good they play. I mean, they could have as many as, 18 draft picks, could have as few as 13, 12, right? So still early.
I think but that's the window.
Something to keep an eye on. We can talk about it. We're just guys talking on the internet, but Michigan openly talked about breaking the record in their program. Their coach, people in their football building were talking about it. So hopefully Ohio State's not doing that, not counting their eggs. I mean, I say that, but Michigan went on to win the Natty anyway. So I guess talk your talk, what do you say? It's one thing to roast them for falling short, but they won the Natty. So whatever. We'll keep an eye on that, man. I think there's some fun stuff to kind of pick at in the days and weeks and months to come. But target's 15. It's Georgia. It'd be so sweet to set that this year. I think that's about it for this week, man. Anything you want to throw out there that we forgot, or?
No, I think I'm good. I'm ready to tune into some. I know you're not a golf, but PGA second major getting underway this morning, so I'm gonna turn my attention to golf for a little bit.
Scotty gonna cook?
I hope not. I like him, but I'm kind of like anybody but him. It's just kind of boring. I'd rather somebody I don't like even win it just to add a little bit more spice to it.
I saw there's an article about how dominant he's been recently. Yeah. And then they compared it to Tiger's peak, and it's he's been really good, but Tiger's,
it'd be number one for 12 more years.
It's just a different galaxy, man. Just a completely different galaxy. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. As always, take care of each other. Be good to each other.